Where is the horn that was blowing? They have passed like rain on the mountains, like wind in the meadow. The days have gone down in the west, behind the hills, into shadow.
I heard some troubling news lately. Brandon Herrera that found out he was going to run a video talking about why the AR-15 sucks. And I severely beg to differ.
Hamburger hum, hamburger 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 hum, hamburger 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 hum, hamburger hamburger.
Relax, I just want to take some pictures.
No more bullshit monkey ninja drill. Make every bullet count. And execute a plan.
I feel like this is a threat.
Do you actually believe the Queen died of natural causes?
You know, just a gift to you, because you deserve it.
That might have been a war crime. But, shit happens in the heat of passion, Jimbo.
That's why we want to see your super influential.
Go to my OnlyFans. We should have done this on OnlyFans.
I have onlyfans.com/gunshorts.
We should have done this there.
Yeah, I know.
Probably would have made like $26.
What a waste of fucking time that was.
The AR-15 was made by Americans for Americans. The AK-47 made by communists for terrorists. Think about all the greatest people in history. Americans, right? Jesus, great American. That guy never touched an AK.
Like, the AK is a cool gun, I like it, but it's not a real gun by modern standards.
I can't recommend this to a normal human being that doesn't have methamphetamine levels of addiction.
Made me want to fucking myself.
Ignore Hop for a second. He clicked over a beer fork.
It's a cool piece of history. It's not relevant. The AK is not relevant.
It's a boxed loyalist enclave of hipster faggots. Sorry.
Good morning, everyone, or good evening, everyone, I should say. Hope you are all doing well. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another tier list, just for fun. Surely non-controversial, surely no pushback whatsoever on this sort of thing. But I hope you're all doing well. Let's go ahead and get in the co-host here. Gary, you're on. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. You guys don't get to see my ugly mug today.
No,
my
fine.
Internet is being terrible when I'm somewhere where I'm comfortable putting out a camera. So
I'm very glad to not be in Washington internet anymore. That was not fun dealing with like 10 megabytes down, 1 up, and now I have in the middle of nowhere 250 down, 250 up, as the cheapest, slowest option possible.
Lucky.
I know. All right. So before we get into the stream, though, if you guys want to help us out, of course, hit the like button, as that is very easy to do and free and does help the stream out. And of course, you can also check out my website, which in theory has things in stock or even things to pre-order. And yeah, that's about it. So let's go ahead and pull this guy up. This is the tier list that we have for today. What do you got, Gary?
All right. A couple things. Number one, if you guys are not seeing your messages in chat, I can't approve them. John has to do that, and he's not. So, number two, there are no prisms on this tier list. 1X prisms are going on their own list. If that's a problem, you can fight me.
So we're probably gonna do the prisms with the magnified optics tier list, or at least like the non non-SPR style scopes, so LPVOs, 1x prisms, stuff like that.
So the way that I'm thinking we're going to do things, we're doing dots this time. Next time we'll do fixed magnification and prisms.
Okay.
And then after that we'll do high magnification. And then after that, for the final tier list stream that I have planned out, we'll do LPVOs because that one's going to be a big one.
Yeah, that one there will be a very interesting one. That's kind of my main focus is cheap LPVOs, so that one there will be fun. Yeah, technically,
that could be a trip.
Technically, LPV or holographics are on here, so it's a 1x non-prism video. How about that? All right, so what do we got up here to start? Because I know you put these on here kind of as a meme, but these are the two most popular, or at least most well-known iron sights on the market. We have the HK with the rear aperture, and then of course M16A2 style sights, which are probably the most popular and most effective on the market.
Oh yeah. So I mean, as far as iron sights go, I think these are probably the only two options to go with. So,
but realistically, compared to red dots, where are we putting red dots? Or
well, I mean, okay,
iron sights.
If you swap out the front sight post to something that glows in the dark, they're probably C. Other than that, it's D at best.
Really? Okay, sure. Now, the one thing that I will say about that is they are more reliable than a lot of especially cheaper red dots. And, they don't require batteries or anything else like that to work. So I'm kind of fine with keeping them in C tier as a mediocre, if usable option. Not ideal for every circumstance. Of course, using them in low light or no light scenarios, not particularly fun. Now, going into the first actual red dot, this is a red dot that I have a good amount of experience with. This is the HoloSun AEMS, or the AIMS. Now, they have two different versions. They have the core version, which is cheaper, doesn't have the front protective lenses, doesn't have the solar failsafe, and it doesn't have the multi-reticle system either. And I'm not sure if the night vision settings are different, but I know some people like it more than me, but I'm kind of feeling it in B tier, which is a above average dot, but not top tier.
Hey, you got way more experience with it than I do. I thought the glass was pretty decent, and I think for the price tag, it's a really nice dot. But yeah, probably B plus, A minus.
Well, because they're $350 to $400 for the full version. You can get the cores for around $300, sometimes even a little bit less than $300, which I think is a pretty decent price. The dot itself looks fine.
$250 on your website.
Hey, shush. But yeah, so they're not particularly expensive. The light transmission is really good. I don't like the way that the image looks because it has a very warpy, like 0.05 magnification on it almost. So it feels kind of awkward to use. That being said, the image does look fine. The dot's good enough. The refresh rate is great. The feature set is good. Not a huge fan of the proprietary mount. However, there are now, after I reviewed the dot, they came out with a lot of aftermarket options specifically for the AEMS. So I think, yeah, high B tier, low A tier, something like that is completely fair. Now, Aimpoint T2, I think we probably just have to stick it up into S tier.
That's not a T2. That's oh no, that is a T2.
Okay, I thought I was blind.
You skipped right over the T2. You skipped right over the Pro and went to the T2.
Well, like, it's first on the list. It's first on the list. So yeah, the Aimpoint T2, it's ubiquitous. It's copied by everybody for a reason. Light transmission's fantastic. Build quality is very high. The only thing that would hold it back is from a value perspective. They are very, very expensive. I think they're still running $700 to $800 without a mount. And so if you're putting on an expensive mount, you're pushing $900 for a really rudimentary-ish red dot in terms of its feature set, but it kind of does everything that you need it to do. Like, it doesn't have any special reticles. It doesn't have any, special modes like some of the other ones do, but it has great light transmission. The dot works. The night vision settings work. The build quality is fantastic. You just have to pay for it. So probably S tier in terms of performance, maybe A or B tier in terms of value, maybe even lower than that in terms of value because it is so expensive.
I will say that I've used two different optics under night vision One of them was an Aimpoint T1, and the other one was an EOTech, and they do function very well under night vision.
Yeah. I mean, that's their whole claim to fame. That's why you have them for the most part, especially EOTechs. EOTechs are probably still one of, if not the best, passive aiming options on the market. I don't like them for a lot of other things, but for that application, I think they're good. Now, moving on to this one. This one is the Pro model.
Aimpoint PRO.
Aimpoint, which is the patrol rifle optic or whatever they call it.
Yep, that is the 30mm Aimpoint tube.
Now, this is an awkward dot because it uses a special smaller cell, and so it only has like a 15,000 hour battery life, a 10,000 hour battery life, or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, because the battery tray on it is really small. And I know that the night vision performance, at least from what I've heard, because I've only seen these in person like once or twice. I don't actually know anyone runs these. But the night vision is slightly worse than the T2 and some of the other top tier red dots on the market, but passable. So value is okay, actually, at only about $400. So maybe high B, low A, kind of in that same range. Although, to be fair, for the same amount of money, I would personally rather have an Ames. It's smaller, lighter, better battery life, better feature set, and actually cheaper as well. So I think I would have to put it in B tier. Yeah, so Hop comes in and says the Pro uses a 1/3 N cell. Battery life 30,000 hours. So it's still a slightly reduced battery life. And again, battery life ratings are a topic of discussion on their own because they're all false. You're never actually going to hit that 50,000 hours, especially if you're comboing with auto on, auto off, depending on what specific battery, what environment you're using it, and what setting you have it set on. Yeah, those numbers aren't exactly accurate, but it does have a reduced battery life. Slightly. Yeah, Andrew Vachon comes in and says the Pro goes in B tier. Better options out there these days. Yeah, B tier seems solid for that. Now this next one, you're gonna have to tell me about this one because I have no idea what this one is.
So that is a Seymour. What do they call it? ATRW. I've heard that they're really clear, and the dot is like really crisp. And I saw somebody mount it one time on an A2 carry handle. So I was like, "Huh, this looks like it's a thing." I don't know anything about them. If you guys have any sort of experience with them, go ahead and put it in the chat because I got nothing.
I have no experience with these whatsoever. The only time I ever seen them is in video games and stuff like that, or you'll see like the Amazon specials that are like kind of lookalikes in regard. But yeah, the design is not very appealing to me, but back when these were designed, they might have been just fine. Chris says the Seymour is a S tier vibe, which it is definitely a vibe. It is a retro, like brings me back to like Modern Warfare 1. I want to say this was like the base red dot. If you selected a red dot, this is the option that you got. So from that aspect, with like a plastic handguard, front sight post, it's kind of a vibe, sure. But realistically, probably D tier, if not lower, because I don't think they're particularly cheap either. Do you know the price on those?
$500.
Oh my gosh,
somewhere around there.
Oh yeah, so Seymours are 90s and early 2000s tier. Yeah, I mean we could have had a retro tier and then put them in like put them in the top of retro tier, which is kind of a meme tier. John Doe comes in and says, dated and very mid. Weak design, prone to breakage. Very possible. Link comes in and says, the Seymour has a 16 MOA dot, which is not for human normal use. Yeah, that sounds huge. That sounds absolutely huge. That's bigger than like competition shooters using. All right. Next up, now we have the kind of the worst version of an Aimpoint T2. It's a Crimson Trace T2-esque clone, but even worse because it utilizes a Picatinny mount on this one.
Oh my god, these things are so bad.
Yeah. Actually,
I have one. I'm not sure that it can zero. That's an F tier. That is an F tier dot, sir.
All right, we'll put it down.
The battery life on it is like 35 hours.
Oh, sub 100-hour battery life. Now that's a feature.
That is at $35 right now at Palmetto State. So.
Oh, that was the dot everybody was talking about, and it's like, hey, you get this upper, you get this rifle, and it comes with a free dot, and it was it's a Crimson Trace literal AliExpress special with no thought or engineering put into it whatsoever.
It is so bad. It is so bad.
Now, depending on how heavily you weigh glass quality and night vision performance, this is the EXPS 3 model of EOTech. It's probably got to be S tier or A tier. I know that a lot of people really like them. The one drawback that most people have on the internet is they'll quote the low battery life number, which when they're only rated at, say, 1,000 to 1,500 hours, depending on model. I believe the 558, which is the model that I owned, that one there went all the way up to 2,500 hours of battery life. Still very low when compared to other optics. However, with an EOTech, I think the SOPs are slightly different. You basically, I wouldn't use it as like a truck gun or as a home defense style optic where you might be a very, very impromptu situation. However, in a patrol car, or if you're doing something that you know you're going to be doing something that day, you simply press the up button and you got 8 hours before it automatically shuts off. So your SOP is a little bit different.
I think that's like the perfect.
Go for it.
I think that's like the perfect. I was going to say, I think that's like the perfect use case for a truck gun, where you turn it on when you put it into your truck and then take it out and turn it off.
Maybe it depends on. It depends on the situation that you're thinking of. Because I'm like, what if you just grab it in a hurry, you pull it up, you're panicked, you're in a rush, and the dot's not there, right? Because you forgot to press the button.
Well,
now you got to go back and press. Well, the button.
I mean, why is your gun staying in your truck overnight?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, if you're setting it up to where every time you, like, if it is in your vehicle, like a weapon that actually stays in your vehicle, which I know some people that do leave weapons in their vehicle, like every time you start the car, you just reach into wherever it is and press the up button to make sure that it's on for when you need it. I mean, that could be a thing, I guess. But yeah, the point being the SOP is different. You have to, every time you touch the gun, every time you ever plan to be using it, you need to turn it on. And I've heard stories of people like using it overseas, and whatever EOTech they were using, they're just fiddling with the buttons at all times because they're like making sure that it's not going to die on them when it's the worst anymore.
And I mean, of all the dots on here, it's probably the best under magnification. I'm going to say A tier. They're definitely not S tier.
Very A tier. But if you're looking for like the best glass and the best night vision performance, I think that they're pretty close to that. And they're cheaper than an Aimpoint T2. They're cheaper than an Aimpoint T2.
They are, but I've never seen an Aimpoint break, and I have seen an EOTech fail due to recoil. So
well, I mean, I broke my EOTech 558. I cracked the glass on that completely. So I know that they're not actually the toughest dots on the market from a design standpoint. The benefit of having that huge, beautiful looking window is great, but then that window is also not particularly durable. Glass is not a great structural material, and it's very finicky. In certain environments, it's going to perform very well, and then you change a couple of characteristics, and suddenly it performs a lot worse. So, I mean, I am actually fine with putting that down to A tier. It is situationally the best on the market, but probably not like the best general purpose dot. Now this model, the next one, it looks like it's the 512, though it could also be the 552, which is the same optic but with night vision. I've owned 3 512s and 1 558, which the 558 is the tall version with night vision. And that one there also has the best battery life, rated at about 2,500 hours. The 512s do not have night vision settings, but the glass quality is still fantastic. And the glass quality is still fantastic. So, and they're also, I think, $400 ish, roughly. So maybe the 512 is A or B tier, because it's definitely lower than the EXPS 3 if it doesn't have night vision.
Mm-hmm. My buddy Byron just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that EOTech broke from the intense recoil of a 9-inch 300 blackout.
So what happened to it that caused
So
it
much
to fail?
recoil.
Well, yeah, but what was the actual failure on?
The reflector on the top end came off.
Okay.
So
something internally on the optic broke.
Yep.
Cellular Dream is in fact late. Now we did have a couple super chats come in. I'll go ahead and get to those right now. Andrew asks, do we count EOTechs as red dots? Well, no, they're not red dots, even though they do project usually a red image onto glass. They are holographics, of course, but for the purposes of this list, they are going to be on here. Andrew Vachon comes in again and says XPS/EXPS is A tier. S tier in a world where the Romeo HT doesn't exist. Unfortunately, it does. So let's go ahead and what do we have next on this? We have the Burris. This is the Burris red dot.
Yeah,
Burris
Burris
RT3. I mean, it's got to be C or D tier because there's nothing particularly special about it. Because it was kind of a mid-tier dot, or I should say it was a mid-tier budget dot when it came out, and that was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. And there's just been a lot of newer dots that come out that do things better. So probably D tier. Not particularly excited about it. Do you have any experience with it?
I don't. I do have some experience with Burris LPVOs, but I thought that was one that you reviewed, so I put it on there.
No, I haven't reviewed this one. I've just seen them around. There's nothing special. Nothing special about them. John comes in and says, just joining, what's in the S tier? That is the Aimpoint T2. That is the original, the best. Kind of still the best, honestly. All right, Holosun 512. This is this is the 512C, right? Or is this the HE version?
Yeah, I think that's a 512C.
Okay, yeah, the 512C, perfectly acceptable dot, big window, kind of heavy. Glass quality isn't as nice as most of the other big windowed optics on this list. Technically has a solar failsafe, decent battery life. The mount is okay. So probably a solid B tier, if not C tier. Now, the thing that is nice about it is that these for a while were very expensive, like $230, $250. So if you were just looking for a big windowed red dot for whatever reason, they could be a good option to go if you were on a tighter budget. Now, this next option, is this a thermal or the night vision option? This is the new Holosun one?
That's the thermal. That's the thermal.
Oh, that's the thermal version. So what do you think about this? Because I have not seen any videos on it. I've seen it in person, but the one time I saw it in person, it wasn't working. So
I think I saw a video on it the other day, and it looks like a dot. It looks like it's thermal.
And let's see here. The price on this is coming at $1,600.
I think the effective range on the thermal is like 30-something feet. So
that's it?
I don't know that it's not great.
That's really
30
bad.
yards maybe.
30 yards?
Maybe it's
even
30 yards.
Still, though. Like, if you're trying to detect something that close and you don't have any other way of detecting them, like whether it's, if you're spending $2,000 on a dot, assumedly you already have night vision or even just a handheld thermal monocular, that's going to allow you to identify threats a lot better than that. That's got to be... We should have put in like a gimmick tier because that is pretty... Oh, hey, look at this. Brassfax comes in and he says that he just hit export on the night vision version. So I'd actually be interested to see what you think about it. Just give us an overall rating, or a letter rating. See how that is. Because from what I've just heard, I think it sounds pretty gimmicky. So we'll move on to the Holosun 510C, which is
I do like
not
on the thermal night vision one. I do like the fact that they're bringing this kind of technology into a dot at a price that most people can probably afford with some penny pinching.
Mm-hmm. So, kind of. I like the idea. Sure, you are pushing technology further. It's a huge optic to put on your rifle. Brassfax comes in. He calls it D tier. So, I'll take his word for it. D tier. D tier seems fair, but it's so expensive. It's so gimmicky. It's like a Halo product that you're putting out on the general market for some reason, which is kind of like another dot on this list, the Sig Romeo 90, which I actually did get to play around with, but that thing costs nearly $4,000. And I would actually say it's almost less gimmicky than this $2,000 thermal sight. And the night vision probably isn't that much better.
510C, rather use irons.
And then the other
Probably.
guy says 510C is S tier for open pistols. Yeah, if you can mount it to a Picatinny riser, who cares? But no, seriously, I've used it enough. I never liked the idea of going from the 512C down to the 510C for about the same money. I know that they do make some aftermarket risers for the 510C, but I'm just not a big fan of huge open emitter red dots. That being said, I forget who I was talking to, but I was talking to somebody who was doing testing with it under night vision. And the glass quality is actually better on the 510C, probably because they remove a pane of glass, and it's just removing a pane of mediocre glass makes the glass look better. It does have slightly better light performance than the 512C, which is of course enclosed. So that's just another thing that's going to knock down some of the light collecting capabilities. But overall, I don't like it as much as the 512C on a rifle. I've heard people use it on like shotguns and stuff like that, but it's just not my personal favorite dot. Weekend Gunner comes in and says the Romeo 5 is the triple S tier. Exactly. Next up, we have, what is this? Or did you have any input on the 510C before we move on?
No, I've never used many of the Holosun dots. I think I looked through a couple pistol dots at one time, but they're not really my thing. So the next one up is a 503 though.
The 503. So this means that it is R for rotary dial, no solar function on top. Are you sure this is a 503 or the 403? 403R. So R is
said
the rotary.
503 when I pulled the picture off of I pulled the picture off of Optics Planet. It said 503.
Sure. Doesn't really matter. The main difference there would just be the solar panel on top, I want to say. And the 500 series also has the multi-reticle system, so it comes with both the 2 MO8 dot and the 65 MOA outer circle, or I forget if it's the 32 MOA outer circle, but it comes with that plus the open plus the outer circle. It's a perfectly fine dot. I'm not the biggest fan of the Holosun dots. I've had some glare issues on some in the past. I've had some people tell me that their dots don't, and that specific models have more than others. But it's kind of middle of the road. It's not particularly expensive. They're under $200. So maybe for a budget-ish dot, I think it's probably fine. It's small, lightweight, takes the T2 mounting platform. So probably a low B, maybe a high C tier. And then we have this guy. This is probably, well, I shouldn't say the worst, because Leopold has made some very, very interesting products. But this is one of those red dots that you just look at it and you wonder, why was this made? And this was probably designed around the time the Aimpoint Pro came out, so it's kind of a similar form factor. But just all of the specs are pretty terrible, and the price is not great.
I'm thinking that that's like not designed for our market. I'm almost wondering if that's like designed for going on a turkey shotgun or something like that. I mean, that sounds like it would be
why
would market.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you just put another red dot on it?
I mean,
like I would take almost any other red dot on this list over the, I think it's called the Leopold VFX Freedom or something like that, RFX Freedom or something like that. But it's kind of memey.
Why does it have exposed elevation turrets?
I don't know. It's way bigger than it needs to be. Yeah, this looks like something a boomer would put on their shotgun because their eyes are getting bad and they can't see, the front sight post anymore. So you might actually be right about that. And then Leopold does have a certain name recognition with certain people, so maybe that's the reason. Maybe. Now, this is a red dot that's been memed to death, and I see here you put up the Amazon special with the side-loading laser sight on it. Do you know which model specifically this one is?
Is
that the
let me see if I can find it, because Of course, I just went to Amazon and I searched for red dot. And that was the first one that popped up.
In the notes, you just put lol. So I have no idea what that one is.
I think that's a CV Life or Feyachi. It's one of the two.
Either one. It is a solid meme tier. Now, there was an original... This was also a dot, I think, in Modern Warfare 2. I forget who the original manufacturer of it was, but in Modern Warfare 2, this was the base red dot. Oh, Seymour. It was Seymour. Okay. So, back in MW2 days, that was the best site in the game, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, though, probably not so much, and especially considering this is like a knockoff of a knockoff, because there were so many different versions of these floating around, like probably no less than 100 different variations of essentially the same mediocre dot. Andrew Vachon comes in and says, classic drunk Leopold product. It's very possible. It's very possible that there was a little bit of alcohol combined or involved with getting that dot produced. It is very possible. Austin Boston says, Modern Warfare 1? I thought it was Modern Warfare 2. You might be right about that. Or it might have been in both games for all I know. But I'm pretty sure it was also the red dot in Modern Warfare 2. And then if you go with the holographic option, it's the EOTech 553 in Modern Warfare 2, I want to say. I could be wrong about that as well, though. Yeah, Pan AV. That's the original name. Because I do remember watching Hop's video on this optic. Predator for the pores. Exactly. Zachary says it's beam shot, triple laser on the side. Yeah, I mean, mounting a laser to a red dot, kind of like mounting a thermal or a night vision optic onto them, kind of sounds like a bad idea, unless you have a ultra compact package where you literally can't fit anything else and you want some additional capability. All right, should we talk about this one? I don't think either of us have any experience with this dot.
I mean, I don't know if I should talk about it because I don't want to get paperwork.
Oh, paperwork is fun. It's fine. This is the Promethean LP1 red dot, which has a lot of features on paper that people will like. It has a big window. It has a shroud to protect it, so it kind of looks like an EOTech. Side-loading 2032 battery, side-loading CR123A battery with, I think, 50,000 hours, if not 100,000 hours of runtime. It has kind of a mediocre detent system on the mount, kind of like the Holosun 512C. Weight's not terrible. I want to say it's at like 11, 12 ounces, something in that range, so it's still heavy. It's very heavy for a red dot, but overall not terrible. If you like big windows, it's fine. It's not particularly expensive. I think they're still sub $400. But I think you have to put them in B tier. And I'm not memeing on them. I think that it is legit B tier optic. I wouldn't put it any higher than that. I would probably put it right next to the 512C. Or yeah, the 512C. Just because they're pretty similar in terms of performance. Maybe a slight edge in durability to the 512C. But realistically, similar enough, despite some of the spats that we've had in the past. Not a big issue. I think it is a solid B tier option. If it had maybe more reticle options, if it actually had like BDCs on it or something like that, if it was actually a little bit more durable, if it came with auto on, auto off, if it had a better mount as well, like an actual crossbolt with like a hex nut, I think you could probably bump that up to A tier as long as the price didn't increase all that much. But as it sits right now, I think a solid B tier is fine, and you could put it on either side of the 512C and be perfectly happy. Madhouse comes in and says Prometheus violated his NDA and non-compete clause with the gods. Yes, he did. And he fell and broke his front pane of glass. I don't know. Well, it's a little awkward. Making Bacon says lead and steel be trash. Well, it's fine. It's fine. Nick comes in and says, I appreciate that they are trying to get into manufacturing. Making stuff isn't easy, and that is very correct. It is difficult to legitimately get all of your stuff actually made in the U.S. Sourcing is a very annoying nightmare. And it's also important to remember that the company is in its earlier years, so I'm sure they will get better as time goes on. Immortal Eeltech says that the 512 at least has more features. The 512, kind of. It's very similar. It's a very similar feature set. You get a multi-reticle system. The 512 gets auto on, auto off with a solar failsafe. I don't think solar failsafes are really all that useful. There are some red dots coming out that I'm actually going to be able to test out next week, because I'll be at the Primary Arms Range Day next week, so I'll be able to check out the new GLX models from Primary Arms that actually utilize the solar cell and the battery at the same time, and it actually can swap power between battery and between the solar cell. So for instance, if you're outside, it'll actually utilize the solar cell, and then as you transition to a low light environment without any sort of ambient light, it will actually transfer basically instantaneously to utilize the battery. So it actually will swap what power source it's using to power the reticle, which is pretty cool tech. So, but I'll be able to check that out next week. Zachary Coaster says, next gen will be better. Cross your fingers. I am sure, like, realistically, if you have talented people working for you, there's no reason that the next generation shouldn't be better, right? Keith asks what we have in S tier. It is solely by itself. We have the Aimpoint T2. All right, let's see. Next up, we have a Metro Light. Which one is this? The foreskin sight. What does that mean?
That is the so next up we've got the Hebrew nonsense. We've got the which one is that? The Meprolite Foresight and the Meprolite M21. The Foresight, I think this one's just an EOTech clone.
So is it a holographic?
That uses red dots, not holographics.
Oh, okay. No. So it's just like an enclosed emitter.
It's
big
just a red
optic.
dot.
What's the price on them? Do you know the price on them?
Enclosed emitter red dot. They've got one that has onboard laser aiming devices, so that's cool. But that's not this one. I do know that they're durable. I do know that the glass is good. Let me see here.
So probably a low beam height.
Yeah, it's an LED. It's not a laser.
Okay.
But they do have ones that are lasers. And there are some of them that, I mean, they seem like they're good. I've only looked through them. Oh, go ahead.
I have no experience with them, so I'm just going to put them both in C tier for right now, unless we get some other information on them. Ninja Tanuki says,
you know that
love your
the
content.
M21,
Just
I
tuning
think,
in.
actually is higher grade than that.
Which one is that? Is that the big one or the small one?
I think M21 is that's the one with the white face. That one is a dual illumination. That one's a dual illumination tritium and tritium.
For some reason, in the back of my mind, I think that.
And from what I understand,
I think that. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I've heard that those ones are really, really, really good. The glass is pretty clear. It's got a little bit of a blue notch filter in it because it's tritium, obviously. But
Ninja Tanuki comes in and says, love your content. Just tuning in. Did we do the Comp M4S and the Cope M4S, aka the Romeo 7 yet? No, I don't believe so. Actually, I don't see the SIG Romeo 7 on here. Did you put it on here, Gary?
Oh, shoot. I did not.
Oh, that's fine. We can just add it in.
I did not. We should probably get both of those on there because I forgot to count the import too.
Yeah. Just throw it my way when you got it. And let's see here. I know there was probably some Afterpain says hot take Romeo 4T is S tier. T2 is a high A tier. No, I think the T2 still kind of has to be S tier just because it's kind of the original best one. And it's still kind of the best dot on the market, but it's just very expensive. Let's see. The IDF does love the Metro. Yeah, I think they're they're an Israeli-owned company, aren't they? Meprolite?
Yep. That's why I said they're Hebrew nonsense.
The Hop says the Mepro Foresight is kind of trash, but the True Vision is actually pretty solid. Okay. So the True Vision is the one with the white face on there. We have not talked about the Trigicon MRO yet.
The M21 is the Oh, the MRO. Hop, please don't hate me, but the MRO is A tier.
I don't think Hop's going to agree with you on that one. Hop says the dual Illum sights are Perma F tier. I don't think Hop likes the thermal or the dual illumination sights at all. Perma F tier. Hop has spoken.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I have no experience.
Hop doesn't have good opinions on everything.
Aw. Well, I've never used one, so I don't really have much of an opinion on it other than they look big and chunky. Okay, next up we have the Trigicon MRO. This is a, for some reason, controversial red dot. I've only looked through them a couple of times. I've never owned one. I've never bought one. I don't think I ever will buy one. But some people absolutely love them, swear by them, put them on everything. They are S tier to some people. And then other people, you know, maybe like
I do, in fact, love the MRO.
Like so much. So go ahead and argue for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I do like the MRO. The ones that I've used have had really clear glass. The dot actually looks like a dot, not a smudge.
Was that the MRO HD?
They don't hurt my eyes. Like, it might have been. It might have been the MRO HD. Come to think about it.
Okay. Because the only ones I've looked at are the MRO.
I really like MROs. It's if I was going to buy a dot off of this list, the MRO is the only one that I would spend money on.
Really? All right, that's it. There you go. That is a MRO defender right there, because we have Compton coming in saying the MRO is F tier, and then right below that, the Duality of Man. Link says the MOR, which he just spelled it wrong, more low A tier. Richard asks, when is Hop going to join live? Only if he wants to. And Ninja Tanaki says the MRO HD is decent. The OG MRO is eh. So again, they're kind of saying the newer MRO HDs are better and the older ones are worse. I know that apparently they had like a mid-gen refresh, and if there was like a certain serial number you were over, you should be good. And then if you had a certain serial number underneath that, you could actually send it in or something like that. So again, I probably wouldn't buy one. Now, I already have like the red dot that I want, right? Like the serious application red dot that I want. But, you know, at some point in the future, I'll be looking at other meme red dots. Yeah, the Americunt comes in and says MRO is mid, HD is better, but still mid. So I would be fine cutting it between all of you guys and putting it in B tier.
I would call it A tier. Like that's where my ranking would be.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah, and that's perfectly fine.
I wouldn't spend money on
your own.
And so I can say B tier is perfectly acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Well, because we're kind of pulling the chat here, let's say, because I don't have enough experience on it to really tell, and I don't have much. Oh, whoa! Thanks for putting that up on the screen. Andrew Vachon says, for $20, thank you very much, sir. I'm one of the biggest Trigicon shills out there, and the MRO is a hate crime. How could it be a hate crime if I loved doing it, though? I make a living selling ACOGs, and I refuse to own one of these. Strong opinions. The MRO HD is actually pretty solid, but the MRO is complete and utter crap. Well, Andrew, thank you very much for the $20 and for the strong opinions, which is kind of reinforcing what I'm hearing. The MRO HD, not very good. Or sorry, the MRO non-HD, not very good. Don't buy. The MRO HD is better, so maybe buy. So I think B tier. I think B tier is where it can hang out for right now. Probably B. I'm seeing a lot of love and hate. Hop says he has to break up with us, which is perfectly fine. Let's see. Well, do you have good vision, Gary? Because I always hear opinions from people who have really terrible vision, and I wonder if that affects their enjoyment of certain optics. I have
better than average vision with glasses,
okay.
But I also have an astigmatism that makes EOTechs rather uncomfortable. Or EOTechs.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because I've said this before, but my vision, I'm in my right eye specifically, is like top 1% in the world. I have 20/10 vision in my right eye, with no astigmatism. And then my left eye is my lazy eye. It is 20/25, but it's probably gotten a little bit worse because everything's kind of a little blurry out of my left eye. And I also have a slight astigmatism in my left eye. But so the way I look through optics is different than somebody like with corrected vision and terrible vision at that. So Oh yeah, I was probably just
the fact said.
Go for it.
Just the fact said, dude paid $20 to hate on the MRO, so I think we have to bump it down a notch. My opinions can be bought.
Okay, fine. C tier, middle of the road, right? Balance out the hate and the love. Desert Tactical comes in and says, I like my primary arms RD25 a lot more than my Trijicon MRO. Is the PA25 or the MD25, isn't that the big windowed one? Because I've tested both of them, the original and then the Gen 2
next
version.
one on the list.
Oh, never mind. That's that one. Is that the one? PA CLX.
I think so.
This isn't the new one. Which model
CLX
is this?
MD25, I think
That's like a classic series, isn't it?
What did I do?
So that's like a really, really inexpensive dot. If that's the one I'm thinking of. Because I'm thinking of the MD25, not the CLX version. The MD25, which is like it's like a mid-sized dot. With the ACSS CQB reticle, it was always really muddy, and the image quality was never good. It was very, very blue, and under magnification, red dots don't look that good. And so when you put a ton of stuff in there, it just never was very appealing.
That's an MD25.
This is the MD25. Okay, which one was the one I'm thinking of then? I have to look this up.
I don't know. I think I put the wrong one in, or I think I was looking at several and I put the wrong one. I labeled it wrong. So
that's fine. But I think that's one of their because the MD25 is the one I'm thinking of. So. Yeah. I was gonna say copy link because I can show that off real fast, or at least I should be able to pull that off. Present.
Pull it up too.
Well, I got it right here. This is on the screen. I gotta do this like 9 different ways. That one right there. Now this is on the Primary Arms wholesale site, which I'm not signed into in this, so you guys can't see the actual pricing of these red dots. But the MD25, they had the original one, and then the Gen 2 that comes with auto on, auto off technology. I know that regular guy training, he had the original MD25, and his just continued to die on him. Like he was changing batteries like every month. Because with that ACSS CQB reticle, there's so much stuff in the reticle, and the original version didn't have auto on, auto off. So at a higher brightness level, it would just kill your battery in like less than a month. So the original version, not too great. And then I also tried the original and the Gen 2, and the Gen 2 was like slightly better, maybe, but the only real change was that they added auto live technology, which is just auto on, auto off. So it did save your battery life for a little bit longer. It didn't actually make the battery any better, but it would just save it just by not being on while it's sitting in your closet. All right. That is true. Dude paid $20 a hit on the MRO. S tier hate. Agreed. Major Astigmatism, Classic Series. Yeah, so that's the CX something or other. So I probably just bumped that down to D tier. Primary Arms has not made very good red dots yet. I'm hoping their new ones are better. I think it's the MD21. Their new MD21s, I think, are coming out. I'm hoping they're better. All right. Now I'm biased here, of course, because I bought this optic and I like it quite a bit, and it is my most used optic probably of all time. But this is the SIG Romeo T. It's the biggest, heaviest, most feature-packed optic on the market currently. Also the most durable, and we're seeing a lot of clones try and come out and do what the SIG Romeo 8T does, and none of them quite do. If you follow the other channel that I work for, Gun.Deals, I just put up another video on the new Vector version of it. And while they certainly tried, they did not succeed in their mission to copy the SIG Romeo 8T. So the SIG Romeo 8T, big windowed optics, which I think, of course, a lot of people are going to like. Go for it. You cut out for a second.
I was going to say, I just want to let everyone know John is in fact the face of the AT. So
No, it doesn't. Brass says the AT weighs more than his dog. No, it weighs something like 14.3 ounces, which does, I think it does make it the heaviest red dot of all time. I think there might be some random red dot that's heavier, but it is certainly one of the biggest out there, for sure. Biggest and heaviest. But for that size and weight, you get a very, very durable red dot. Great glass quality. All of the reticle options you could want. So it has the Tuamoy dot, the BDC drops, the outer circle, or any variation therein. I've used mine for a long time. No issues. I've done horrible things to mine, and it still survived, which is always nice to see. So for me, the only thing that really holds it back is going to be the weight, of course, because it is a big, heavy red dot. If you can't take the weight, don't buy it. And also the fact that they're like $700. Now, eventually, I'm going to have SIG optics on my website, and the prices are going to be better, but it's still going to be like in between, let's say, $6 and $7. They're still very expensive. Andrew Sean comes in with another 5 and says, Romeo 8T is S tier. Thankfully, it won't cost me $20 to get it there. No, I mean, I think it's S tier as well. I agree with you. I agree. Now, unfortunately, this next optic is the Romeo 9T. And this is a contract optic. This is not a civilian optic. This is a optic that is going to go to certain departments and win certain contracts. But for the average Joe, it is just like a lot of these other meme tier optics, like the night vision and thermal combo units. Just not really going to be useful to the average person, especially when you factor in the cost that it's nearly $4,000. Now, this is an optic that I actually did get to use and play around with. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say for $4,000, I can get a lot better glass than what's in that. I think I can see all the things.
Yeah, you can get a lot of capability for $4,000 rather than just a second dot, because at the end of the day, that is all it is. It is a huge body. Well, not a huge body. It's kind of like an EOTech 512 sized optic with 2 different dots, 4 sets of turrets, so you can zero them all independently, which is super cool. And the glass does look great. You get a red optic or a red emitter and a green emitter, and you can zero them independently. So think super and subs for like 300 blackout, or 55 grain versus 77 grain. You could technically zero it for different rifles, and if you moved it from one rifle to the other and you put it in the exact same spot at the exact same torque value, it would technically hold 0. There are some very niche applications for this, but at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's actually going to be paying $4,000 for one. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think if somebody has one of these, it's either again on a police LE contract or on some sort of military contract, and they're not actually paying for their own stuff. And then SIG is kind of offsetting some of the R&D costs on the civilian market by charging, $3,500 to $4,000 for one of these things. Size and weight isn't horrible. Again, I think they're like 10 to 12 ounces, somewhere in that range. EOTech 512 sized, but the price is just astronomical. Astronomical. Austin comes in and says the EOTech's obese cousin. It actually might be a little bit slimmer than EOTech, but it is, or at least the 512 series. But not available to the public is F tier for stepping on my smack. Yeah, SIG would sell you in a second to get a whiff of a military contract. So just because I like the SIG Romeo 8T doesn't mean that I like the company SIG. So,
isn't it? It is available to the public though.
It is, yeah. It's just that's where they're
priced beyond what anybody would reasonably pay.
Yeah. So realistically, for $4,000, what would you get instead?
We know what I would get instead. It's sitting on my rifle right now, and you've reviewed it, and it's got the best glass ever.
You're talking about this ZCO?
ZCO, yeah, 527.
Well, what about something more AR-15 centric? What would you get? You would get a aim.22.
I mean, I've got it sitting on an AR-10. So...
Okay, yeah, but I mean, you could buy a legit optic setup, and rifle setup, and laser aiming module setup for $4,000. So it's a lot of money. Darling comes in and says, well, it's actually only $3,500. I'll have you know. Don't overestimate the price of this optic. I know, $3,500 is still insane. And I've seen it anywhere from $35,000 to $4,000. I think map is probably like 35 or something like that. Or 39, and people are just selling it cheaper. Ellipsis says it is extremely expensive to make, and that is probably true. I do imagine it took some work to get it to function properly inside of a single optic body, because there are a lot of different moving pieces on the inside with two emitters, forced turrets, that sort of thing. But is it really 5 times more expensive than a SIG Romeo 8T? Maybe not. I'm sure it is expensive, though. I'm not saying it's cheap to manufacture compared to other optics. Ellipsis says again that I can tell you that SIG isn't really making as much money as you would think on one of these. And again, I do think that they are trying to offset their R&D costs, because, you know, when you spend $1 million designing and manufacturing, you know, all the different prototypes and going through all the phases of design, it is very, very expensive. So when you factor in costs, I'm sure they haven't made anything on it yet, but hopefully over time they will. Oh, well, price isn't really a concern. If we go off of just the DOT's performance, probably A tier. But I don't really think you get any benefit out of the second DOT. You just end up with a slightly heavier, obnoxious thing. So if we do take price out of consideration, I think it's a solid A tier optic. Like if somebody handed me one and said, hey, you can never sell this, but you can have it, I would absolutely take it. I would put it on something for sure. I'd find a use case for it. Andrew Vachon comes in and says, I love the idea of the 9T. Sounds perfect for 300 subs plus supers. I will absolutely never buy one. Was able to play with it at Freedom Days. Yeah, I was able to play around with it at the gathering, shoot it a little bit, film it a little bit. There are applications for it, but it is, again, just very niche and probably not worth the money. That is the SIG Romeo 8T, sir. Oh, I see. I just misunderstood. Yeah, you can get a PVS 14 for realistically probably a little bit under $3,000. Now, actually, something that I should mention is that not really an official sponsor, but kind of a sponsor now, because they did send me these, is going to be Noise Fighters. Noise Fighters, the CEO, Neil, over there, was very nice. He introduced himself at SHOT Show, and he ended up sending me out a set of dual PVS 14s. These are Gen 3 unfilmed white phosphorus tubes, and they're Pano Bridge and J-arm. So that is the reason why you guys will now be seeing night vision content integrated with all of my reviews going forward, is because of the extreme kindness of Neil at Noise Fighters. So if you're interested in night vision accessories, go ahead and check out Noise Fighters. They also came out with a new riser that's sitting on my Criterion in the background, but you guys can't even see that. It's just off camera right there. There's a Criterion with the riser and a bunch of different stuff on it right now. Spectre X, what's a ZCO?
Joe says,
go for it.
Hank, can I? Oh yeah, no. Joe says price has always got to be taken into consideration because of stupid things like the SIG dual dot. I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, so I mean, I can move it down. I don't really care, but I'm saying in terms of raw performance, probably an A tier. Like in terms of which one of these I'm going to buy first, it would probably be at F tier, because I'm never actually going to buy one. But if we're just going on its performance, A tier. So, I mean, we can move it down, but that's not really an issue. Spectre says, what's a ZCO? A ZCO is a zero compromise optic. They make some of the best scopes on the planet. One of those. Ninja Tanaki for $10 comes in and says, speaking of the Romeo 8T, any idea what's going on with the availability? It's gone. No stock anywhere except some scalpers wanting $1,000. And I just saw 2 obvious fakes sell on eBay for hundreds. So I have a supplier for all things SIG, Holosun, Trichicon, and a bunch of others as at dealer pricing. And I was quoted 4 to 8 weeks on lead time, which means most of your other big distributors are probably also quoted the same. So give it a month or two, and I think they will be back. So we should be able to, and that's when I'll probably get a bunch of SIG dots up on the website. What do we got here?
Don't mind me.
Okay, it was not loading, so I don't know if you're trying to share something.
No, don't mind me. I was trying to pull something up in the background.
I got you. Andrew Vachon says MSRP is $5,200. Map is $3,900. Dealer cost is redacted. I can tell you what dealer cost is. I have special access. I got peeps. I'm curious because I haven't looked at it. I know it's not in stock, but I am curious on what it actually is. All right. The Department of AFT comes in and says, "Hey, Focus, if I was what if you were hypothetically retarded? If I was hypothetically orphaned, would you or Hop or Brass adopt me and provide the sustenance I require?" Well, I can't speak for either of those fine gentlemen. As for me, it would, it depend on a lot of factors and see if, you were a good fit for my family, but I'm sure we could work something out. Now, for Hop, as long as you had a job and could provide alcohol, I think you would be all right. All right. Noise Fighters J-Arm is the stuff, says Shoddy. I agree. It's very, very nicely machined and designed stuff. Very expensive, but so is everything night vision. Joshua, that is what are we putting in C tier? The MRO HD? You are very welcome, Ninja. Hop says all three of us already have children.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So it's the MRO HD in C tier. We still just have a lot of love and hate for it. So let me see here. I type in 9T, just a second to pop up. Oh, that's the ZCO. Yeah.
This right here expensive. Is the ZCO 5 to 27.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of the top 3 scopes currently on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely fantastic.
Very, very nice stuff. Ooh.
It's good enough that you can go back in time and see when you didn't have alpha tier glass.
I just looked up the actual price of a Romeo 9T. They are ripping you off. Wow. All right. Fair enough. All right. Next up, we have this is the Romeo 4 XT Pro. What? Put it up. No, I cannot share that. I'm gonna get kicked out of all my wholesale lists if I start releasing actual prices of stuff. So I technically am not supposed to be violating MAP. So let's not talk about that. But it's less.
You should put it in your. You should add it to your store so that people can see what the actual price is.
Oh, right.
When they decide to buy one.
Well, it's not the actual price. It's obviously it's still above that, but they would get a better idea of what it is. But anyways, moving on to the SIG Romeo 4 XT Pro, I want to say. Now, actually,
yep.
I don't think I can put it in an S tier. It technically does all of the things the Aimpoint T2 does to the same level with some additional features. For instance, you do get the extra reticle options. It does have some niceties that come with it for about half the money. However, as of late, after I did my review on it, I have had anywhere from 3 to 6 people contact me talking about issues that they've had with their dots. For instance, the batteries dying prematurely, emitters going out, stuff like that, and how they've had to have their products warrantied. So there are probably still some slight teething issues with the Romeo 4 XT Pro. Well, if you're going to buy a $500 red dot, it's probably the best $500 red dot on the market currently. It's still probably just outside of S tier if they don't fix all the issues or some of the minor issues that they're having with it. But in terms of feature set, it has everything you want. It's not particularly big or heavy. The glass quality is good. It has all of your reticle options that you would want, really more than you would ever want. The body design is good. Even the base mount is fine. It comes with a kill flash. It comes with protective caps. It kind of does everything that you want it to do out of a T2 style optic without paying T2 prices. Nick calls it the B tier. James says it's probably better than the T2, to be honest. I think it technically is better than the T2 when you're comparing its feature sets. However, again, I have heard of some issues with it, so maybe quality control just isn't as high. But if I had two optics, a T2 and a 44 XT Pro, or however you say that, and I knew that they were both going to work perfectly, I would probably choose the 44 XT Pro, whatever it's called. I would probably choose it just because it does have a better feature set. But again, then you have a little bit of the QC issues that I've been hearing. So yeah, Mike also says he'd take a 4XT over an aim point. It is a great dot. It is what I would recommend if you're looking for a T2 style optic and you want the best performance at a lower price than a T2 even. Nick says their customer service was very accommodating, so that's good to hear. The new ones they sent me seem much better. I'll say that. The turrets click and are plenty loud, and I really want to like this dot. Yeah, so Nick was one of the people that was talking to me that I was having some issues with his. So it's not, it's certainly either A or S tier. It's a top tier dot if you get one that actually works as it's supposed to. Yeah, I know there's some, because you got the Romeo 4, the 4H, the 4S, the 4T, and then the XT, you know, and the Pro and whatever. They have like 6 different models of these red dots. One of them has the 2032, which is probably slightly better for most people as long as the feature set's the same. And then the XT Pro with the AAA battery off the side, which is the one that I tested. Did you send me the Romeo 7 thumbnail? Just so I can throw it up there.
No, I didn't send you a Romeo 7 yet. Do you want me to?
Yeah, if you could send it to me, that'd be awesome. Spectre says, is it 4T Pro or bust? For a $500 red dot. Yeah, probably. But I would go with the newest one, the 4T Pro. That's the one that everyone has had good luck with. I know some of the older models had some issues, so I would go with the newest in the 4 line. But we can talk about the Romeo 5, because the Romeo 5 is the most average, mediocre dot on the planet, but it does everything you want it to do, and it on sale only costs $100. So top of C tier, perfectly fine, perfectly average. Is it going to perform like more expensive dots? Absolutely not. Is it going to have the same feature sets, the same glass quality, the same stock mount? No, it's not. You do need to replace the mounts on these red dots because they are very poor. But once you replace the mount, you're left with a perfectly functional mediocre dot. Now, same thing that I've heard with other people is that they have some QC issues with the Romeo 5 line specifically. Like I was talking to Smash Time, and I think he had like 3 of them back to back to back that just failed on him like every single time. And I'm the opposite of that, right? I've had probably 3 or 4, and I've done horrible things to all of them, and none of them have failed. So, but that's going to be just QC at a lower price category, as you end up getting cheaper options that just perform a little bit worse. Hunter Thompson says the Romeo 5 is everything that I need, nothing that I don't. Yeah, that's kind of where it sits. It does the things you want it to do. It's a dot. It's a dot. Now, if you're trying to use it for passive aiming or for anything like that, probably not. I just got him. Thank you, sir. Wait, why is that? Can I not say that?
I sent you a comp M4 and a and a Romeo.
I'll get him. It'll take me just a second. I actually have to snip these out. Oh, it wouldn't let me download that one. is the aim point comp M4. You said the first one, yeah.
I think so.
What are the comp M4s?
The one that says aim point on the side is
that's
is the
probably
comp
that one,
M4. The one that says SIG is the other one.
Do you know what the comp M4s are running these days?
165.
No. The aim point comp M4s, not the Romeo 7.
Oh, the comp M4 is.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's $1,029 on Optics Planet.
Really? Why?
Yeah. Free 2-day shipping.
I thought they were way cheaper than that. The comp M4 is $1,000. What?
Yeah. Yep.
That's criminal. Let's put that there. Let me put to wherever I just put the Romeo 7. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the Romeo 7. The Romeo 7 is the poor man's comp M4. And yeah, usually under $200. I've seen them as cheap as, again, $100. They're the 30mm tube. They're bigger. They're heavier. Their light transmission is technically better. They're very durable dots. They do work with any aftermarket comp M4. They do work with any aftermarket comp M4 dots. Or comp M4 mounts, sorry. And overall, still kind of mediocre, and they're big and heavy. So I like them quite a bit. I used to use them on my home defense rifle, and that was the only optic on my home defense rifle was the Romeo 7 in FDE, I want to say. And that one there worked perfectly fine. I think I've owned 2 or 3. I've done multiple testing sprees on them. And I do like them as far as dots go, but again, they're just they're bigger, they're heavier. So for some people, they probably like the Romeo 5 a little bit more for a cheap dot. But if you're looking for a big window, maybe you like it more than the 512. So it's a mid-range budget dot. Doesn't really do anything high-end and not offensive in any category. So I'd probably put it in C tier. Probably somewhere in that range. Jonathan Scott comes in for the $10. Thank you very much, sir. And says, I'll be ordering a 4T Pro for my Caracal 816A2 when it comes in stock. That is fantastic. Yeah, 4T Pro. Great red dot. Caracal 816, 11.5. Also, like, a perfectly functional, very well-working gun and going to work great suppressed. Perfect for a red dot magnifier general purpose setup. Shadi says, how is the Romeo 7 under night vision? And if Hop is still in the chat, I'm pretty sure that Hop has a video at least utilizing the Romeo 7 under night vision. And because of the bigger window, it's technically better, but still not great. So I don't really think he recommends it for night vision use. But I actually don't have a Romeo 7 here right now to test. Otherwise, I could just test it for you and let you know. Comp M4 is a vibe. We'll go ahead and do that one next. So Comp M4. Now, this is the aim point version. Now, the main difference between the Comp M4 and the Romeo 7 wannabe is going to be the glass quality and the build quality. They're still big, heavy dots. The base mount is perfectly fine. They're very, very expensive, but the glass quality is better, has the illumination settings you want, good battery life, yada, yada, yada. It's another red dot, but much better glass quality and much better build quality than the Romeo 7. The downside there is it's apparently $1,000, which is very, very expensive for just kind of a standard-ish red dot. Kabi asks, Romeo 5 or 403B? The Romeo 5 is my favorite. I've used the 403B, so the 403B is the top-mounted rubber buttons and the exposed windage and elevation. Not my personal favorite. I would always go with the Romeo 5, but I know some people who go the other way, which is kind of just a preference thing. Hop says the Romeo 7 was okay, but I think they just don't want to make them anymore. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the profit margin on a Romeo 7 is a lot less than it is on one of their newer, more expensive red dots, especially when dealers were getting away with selling them for $99. So the first sight in S tier is the Romeo.
You can get a Comp M5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. You can get a comp M5 on tax swap right now for $750. So I think if you're paying MSRP for a comp M4, you're not doing it right.
You said comp M5 and M4. Which one is on tax swap for $750?
Comp M5.
Okay, so the comp M5. What I know about that
M5S.
is that for some reason the comp M5 does not get bright enough. For whatever reason, it's like an incredibly expensive dot. I guess slightly bigger than a micro dot. That that doesn't have a high enough brightness setting on it. I think every single video that I've watched on the comp M5 says that it doesn't get bright enough. Which at that point, why do you have a red dot? Richard comes in and he says, just checked. The comp M4 is 1,030 to 1,150, depending on source, which is grand larceny. Yeah, that's insane. Over $1,000 for a comp M4. That's rough because that dot's like 15 years old at this point. Prison Mike says, tax swap. You mean scam swamp? Yeah, a lot of these places are not particularly nice to deal with. All right, what is this next dot we have? This is the Bushnell TRS 25? 26?
This next one is the Swamp Fox Liberator.
Oh. I don't have any
No,
experience.
the TRS 25 is the one with the rotary on it.
I see it. I don't have any experience with the Swamp Fox dot. I know that I think it has a multi-reticle system in it, and I've had good luck with other Swamp Fox products, so probably for the money, probably a C tier. Aesthetically, I don't like the fact that it has like exposed windage and elevation, but other than that, it's fine. It's probably not particularly exciting, so probably solid C tier option.
If it's anything like
Joseph
the pistol
Holden-
dots, it's probably really decent.
Yeah, I've heard good things about their pistol dots. I've only actually used one of their pistol dots, and it worked perfectly fine. So I don't really have any complaints about that. I've used their LPBOs quite a bit more, and those actually have been very decent. Joseph asks,
the
how
Kraken
common
that you
are...
used?
No, I didn't use the Kraken. I used the Kingslayer. The names
I've
are
got
all
a-
like nonsense. It's like the Justice Kingslayer, and then I'm sure there's another one in there as well.
Yeah, there's a Liberty and a Justice, and I've got the bigger one of those two on my carry pistol. It's really nice. I'm
Good.
a big fan.
Good year. Joseph says that had a close friend buy the Swamp Fox Liberator, but it died quick for no reason and had to be sent back. That does happen. I've heard that happen with a lot of dots, even more expensive dots as well. They get it out of the package, they use it for a little while, and then it's just DOA for like no reason. You turn it on one day, it doesn't turn on anymore. It's like, oh, great. Fantastic. So I probably put it in C tier just because if you get a good sample, it's probably mediocre. Department of ATF for the $5 comes in and says, all this talk of red dots, we ought to put some respect on the name. I don't know who this is. I don't know if this is... Am I going to get clipped for saying this? Now I have to Google this because I don't know. And there are some things that I am just not... Okay, it popped up in Google, so... Oh, okay. Oh, I see. So this is... See, I learned something new every day. Where did... This is like one of the original designers of the... Yeah, interesting.
Looks like
Aimpoint
he's got the
marketed
patent for a red dot.
Yeah. In 1975, the Swedish optics company Aimpoint AB marketed the first electronic red dot sight combining a reflecting curved mirror and a light-emitting diode LED based on a design by Helsingborg engineer John and Ingemund Ekstrand. The sight was called the Aimpoint Electronic and had a closed tube design that could be mounted similar to a telescope sight. The LED could run for 1,500 to 3,000 hours. So get this, in 1975, they had better battery life than EOTech. In 1975. Yeah, sweet. I didn't know that. Very cool. You learn something new every day. Thank you, Department of AFT. All right, what do we have? What is this? The site mark? This is the Rittenhouse special. Is that this one?
Battle proven. That's it.
Battle
That's
proven.
S tier.
Yeah, so it has to sit in S tier. I actually got to meet Kyle at Huxworks at SHOT Show.
I hope he does well.
Very much so. Vortex Strike Fire. This is another Aimpoint Pro clone.
Solid B tier.
B tier, really? I don't have any personal experience
except for the battery.
Mm-hmm.
I do have experience with it. My buddy in the chat had one. Traded it for 2 EOTechs. So that was fun. I've never had a problem with it, but the batteries on it are really weird. They're not normal batteries. So
yeah, they're the smaller 1/3 N style batteries.
Yeah, I would say A tier if it had normal batteries, but it doesn't have normal batteries, so it's B tier.
You would put it above like. Wait, we have the original Aimpoint Pro in B tier.
Oh,
there's no way there's no way a copy of it is that.
I thought the Aimpoint Pro was in. Yeah, never mind. It belongs right where it's at.
No, honestly though, I think you are probably right. We should probably put up the Pro into A tier and then put the copy of it in B tier. I feel like that's fair. Do you know what the battery life on it is? Although I'm not a fan of this style of optic to begin with. The 30 millimeter.
I think it's 50,000 hours.
Oh, it is rated for 50,000 hours. Does it come with auto on, auto off?
So. I don't want to open up the Vortex website because I think everything will crash on me, but I think so.
Oh, okay. So Ira Hop says Ira K is the true red dot goat, and that is the Seymour inventor, Ira K. Very cool. When did he actually design his red dot? Interesting. Yeah, you learn stuff. You learn something new every day. Awesome. Site mark is definitely not B tier. It's a meme S tier. It's a meme S tier. And then we have this chonky looking guy, which I know I've seen around. This is the Trigicon something or other, isn't it?
Trigicon SRS. That one I think is a tri-illumination. I think it's tri-illumination. I'm pretty sure because it's Trigicon that it's got tritium in it. It definitely has fiber optic in it, and I think I see a battery port on there. But Trigicon is one of those companies. I'm a Trigicon sim.
Well, Trigicon is one of those companies that just does random things. Like you think of Trigicon, you're like, okay, yeah, the ACOG and the RMR, of course. And then they also have like 30 other options that it's like, oh, you made that as well? It's like, yeah, we made it for like 2 years and then never made it again because it just didn't work well. So yeah, solar powered. Night vision. 13 ounces, so it is heavy. What can you buy one of these for nowadays? It's discontinued, but it was $900. That's expensive. That's very expensive. I wonder what one of these runs on the secondhand market. So I mean, I would almost put that in gimmick category. Just because it's a huge, heavy red dot with a bunch of different stuff thrown onto it. And you can get dots that do just the same thing, way better, just cheaper and less expensive. And actually probably perform better as well. Now, this might hurt some feelings, but the Bushnell TRS 25, probably D tier. Back in the day, before you got the kind of flood of miniature red dot sights that performed well for the $100 to $200 mark, I think it would be a lot higher on the list without competition. But because nowadays you have so many better options that actually perform better with better battery life, better feature sets, I think it's got to be D tier. Like if you were going to go out and buy one today, I don't know why you ever would. It's got to be bottom of D tier. Respect for what it did, but just not that great nowadays. Hop says, if you think the MRO is bad, just wait until you use an SRS. And then Andrew Vachon follows it up and says, "You guys need to watch more Hop for $1.99." I do watch Hop's videos, but just sometimes there's just random videos that I watched 2 years ago and I don't remember anything from, because that's how content consumption works sometimes.
I definitely went through Hop's video library and pulled off dots that he's done reviews on. So,
Devin asks, is the MRO HD at least decent? The MRO HD is probably decent. Not the best, but probably decent. I haven't tried one yet, though. Maybe now I have to get one just for memes, just to see if it's actually worth anything. Vortex Huey. This is an optic that I have used. I used the Gen 2 version. I only had it for a little while, a couple months, but I did have it. It's technically a holographic style optic. The battery life is not great. The reticle is fine. The emitter refresh rate is pretty bad. And I think it comes in at like 12 ounces or something like that. I know for a little while you could get the Gen 1 versions when they were rolling out the Gen 2. You could get the Gen 1 versions for like under $400 for a little while, which is pretty cheap for a holographic style option. I think that a lot of people look at it and see that it's a holographic and see that that's something that they want in an optic. However, I do not think it performs like an EOTech, and I would take an EOTech over it all day, especially at a competitive price point. I think these are still between $500 and $600 new, the Gen 2 versions, if you can still get them. And that puts them right next to EOTechs, so I'm not sure why you would ever get this optic when an EOTech exists. So I'd probably put it in C tier. Hop comes in with the 1337.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
As far as I'm concerned, the notch filter on those ones are just not good.
No, it is. It is also, I should have mentioned that, it's very blue. So the refresh rate is worse. The reticle is kind of worse. Blue. The glass quality is worse. The battery life is also pretty darn bad. So it's just worse than an EOTech in every way for about the same money. So
I have same binos with less of a blue notch than the Huey. So
yeah, probably couldn't put it in D tier, could we? I mean, kind of. It's kind of gimmick. It doesn't really fill any niche considering EOTechs do exist.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why it gets the only reason why it gets why it's ahead of any of the other optics at all is because it's the only other one on the list that has a holographic reticle. If that's what you need, then that's what you need. But as far as I'm concerned, it's not good.
It's not good. I still think it's probably slightly better than the memes in D tier. So it's probably still C tier. Like, it's okay. You could use it. If you had one, you could use it. Not going to be great, but you could still use it. Hop comes in with the 1337 and says, "How dare you not commit every single one of my videos to memory on first viewing?" Yeah, I'm sorry. I do watch all your videos, but a lot of it's on stuff that I have no idea what you're even talking about. So it's like, just goes over my head. I watch it. I'm like, oh, that was cool. On to the next thing. Mystery Man says the UH1 is trash. This is another one that's probably pretty divisive. I remember when these first came out on YouTube, and there were a lot of YouTubers that were really up on the optic for some reason. Not sure why, but yeah. Chris Taylor says the reticle is gritty compared to the EOTech. That is something as well. The reticle is just not quite as good. The glass quality is not good at all. Huey is below the Strikefire. I mean, kind of. It's bigger, it's heavier, it's more expensive, and it's worse in a lot of ways. Byron says, but weight equals tough. Not always. Funny thing, two of the optics that I've ever broken were the Promethean LP1 and the EOTech 558. Both of those optics are on the higher end of the weight spectrum. And they are the two red dots that I've actually broken out the glass of. The reason why the Aimpoint T2 is such a good design is with that small 20-meter window, it is nearly impossible to break. Glass is probably always going to be the weak point. Once you crack the glass in a regular style optic, the optic's basically done at that point. And so by making this miniature, super tough hole and this very strong design, even these cheaper companies producing clones of it, with cheap aluminum bodies made out of pot metal, basically, just by virtue of the design being so good, they end up being quite tough, which is why you can take a 6061 Romeo 5 and you can throw it up against a boulder 7 times or 7 times 7 times, and it's not going to break, unlike a Promethean LB1. Department of AFT comes in and says, what about the Trigicon MGRSS? I have no idea what that even is, so I can look that up for you. Thank you for the $2, sir. Trigicon.
The
MGRS.
The MGRS is the that's the machine gun sight. It's a machine gun reflex.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
massive.
I just pulled this up and I was like, what am I even looking at? Dude, there's one with a built-in 3x magnifier. That's amazing. I have to share this. I have to put this on screen. Oh, this is also only $4,000. Only $4,000. Let me go ahead and get rid of that one. Pull up this. Share screen. Trigicon MRS. Yeah, so I mean, can I push this out of the way a little bit? No, I have to do this. Move us out. There it is. Yeah, so the Trigicon MGRS machine gun red dot sight with 3x magnifier. $3,000. That's not terrible. I should put one of those on like a 11.5 SBR. Oh, it has dialable elevation as well.
Absolutely.
That's cool. Very cool. If someone would like to, there's only one left, so if somebody would like to loan me $4,000, I would buy one of these. This is kind of the same sort of situation where it's such a niche product that it does have an application, but its application just isn't for the average Joe. It's not even for the above average Joe. It's incredibly specialized. Down there. There we are. Putting a UH-1 in the same tier as a Romeo 5 is wild, says Prison Mike. Yeah, but the Romeo 5 kind of does everything you want it to do for $100, and it doesn't have as bad of a blue notch filter as the UH-1, and the reticle looks better. So that is kind of a crazy place for a $600.
What are we seeing the price tag at the UH-1 at?
I haven't looked at it in a while. I'm imagining it's not great. I knew the original UH-1s got discontinued or not discontinued. It's $538. $538 is what I'm seeing. So that's still EOTech territory. That's right, just underneath EOTech territory. So, yeah. And honestly, what does suck is I probably would rather have a Holosun 512C or a 510C over it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Better battery life, better glass quality, similar durability probably. So, I mean, that's a bad place to be for a $550 dot. Andrew Vachon comes in and says, Vortex and LNS have the same marketing strategy. I didn't say that. I was just reading. Gerald Gunderson for the $2 comes in and says, Romeo 5 and Huey should not be in the same tier. I know that is going to upset some people, but the Huey is not a great dot. There are probably, like, I don't remember if its night vision performance was good or not. So there are probably some people that are using it under nods, and they're like, oh, it's 10 times better than a Sigma 5. And for that very specific application, sure, yeah, probably better.
The Huey is definitely one of the dots that I really wanted to like, and I can't.
It's kind of it's in
MRO
an odd spot.
Way better.
Gen 3, that's what it needs. It needs a Gen 3. Now, here's an interesting dot. This is the Viridian RFX 45. This is a rebrand of a rebrand of a rebrand of a rebrand of an optic, but it tends to work, and it's pretty durable, and it's green because it's Viridian, of course. But what's funny about it is that the night vision performance is actually really good. I can probably actually pull it up and show it to you. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find that real fast. How would I show this? Should I just pull up the raw video file, or can I show you guys the unlisted video? Let's see. Actually, I don't think no, it's scheduled. I can't show you that. So I'd have to pull up the actual video file, which I can do. Give me just a second and I'll have to find it. I did way too many of these. I rendered out 4. Here we go. That was fast, actually. I rendered out 4 different versions of the same video to try and get it past the YouTube censors. So, and the one that I wanted to get through got through. So let's go ahead and stop that one. Present, share screen, window, media player. Hey, look at that. That's my video. Okay, so this is the Viridian RFX 45 in a very, very dark environment. So this is a lighting-controlled environment. This is at about 2 a.m. There is one window open in my garage and a set amount of additional light. So, very bad. This is, again, in a Gen 3 white phosphorus tube, unfilmed. So it's a very high-quality tube. And we're filming this at, I think, 5K, 5.3K, something like that. It's kind of hard to tell in this video. Maybe it'll get a little better.
Devin said Viridian has some new flashlights. I think I remember you saying something about that to me. You want to bring that up after the video?
Maybe. I remember not liking them very much, or at least them being very mean. But the point being, the Viridian RFX 45 actually has decently good light transmission for a green dot in this case, of course, and the settings actually get low enough to be useful for passive aiming. And I think the dot is not particularly expensive, only like $300, something like that, which is expensive for the clone market. There are some cheaper clones out there, but for what it is, it's certainly not bad. All right. Well, we've been going for over an hour and a half, and this is what we ended up with. For our S tier, we have the Romeo 8T at the top where it should be, Aimpoint T2 because it's the best other dot, and then we have the Rittenhouse Special, which realistically is probably an F or a D tier, but for memes it can stay in S tier. I don't have really anything else. I don't really want to go over the Viridian flashlights because I actually technically still have that video that I could edit and put up at any time on their stuff, but I just have been lazy and haven't done it yet. Problematic behavior comes. It says, just dropped in on this. This can't be real. And then, of course, throwing up emoji. It unfortunately is, sir. It is. It is real. We can talk about next week a little bit. Next week, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be at the Primary Arms Range Day, which is in Texas. So I'll be gone Wednesday through Friday next week. So maybe no live show unless you want to do something on Monday or Tuesday night. I could probably work something in then. And then the week following that, I have tentatively scheduled Cody at Red Right Hand, and we'll go over civilian auto rifles and IARs and very fun stuff like that. And that'll be the topic for not next week, but the week after that. And then if you wanted to make something work for Monday or Tuesday, we might be able to do something like that.
Yeah, we can work on that later. When do you want me to get Blair in?
It would be at least the week after next, if not have another break week in between that and having a guest. So it would be 3 or 4 weeks, depending.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that'll be the next guest
for the chat.
Mm-hmm.
For the chat, I have found a medic who has roughly 20 years of experience in the Special Forces community. And he has trained police officers and dictated procedure for police officers all around the country and made police officers adequate medical first responders. The guy is real shit. This should be very fun.
Yeah, it'll be a good topic. Medical stuff is something that doesn't really get brought up all that much. So even if it's, not the hottest video out there, it will still be a good topic of discussion for everybody. All right, so with all of that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you think of the tier list in the comments down below. It was a lot of fun. Thank you once again for hanging out with us, and all the super chats are greatly appreciated. If you want to help us out personally, of course, hit like before you leave, and check out Focus Shooting LLC, because there might be some stuff on there that is of interest to you. But with all of that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I see you in the next one.